Morning. We'll call the meeting to order this morning. If you'll please rise for the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. This morning we have Supervisor Bishop doing the invocation, and her granddaughter, Shirley Ansell, will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Right after Grandma does the invocation. You please join me and bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we come before you today to give you honor and praise. We thank you for our great country. We ask for your divine wisdom for all of our leaders here today. May we be given the wisdom and courage in the decisions that we make. We ask that you guide and direct our meeting so that it is full of wisdom, productivity, and respect for one another. We thank you in the accomplishments of reaching our goals, and we pray these things in your mighty name. Amen.
Amen.
Miss Shirley?
Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Shirley. Quite a young lady, your granddaughter.
Thank you. She spent most of her life in the military with her mother that retired after 20 years as a master sergeant. So they're in the audience too. Jim and Marcy Ansell, thank you for coming this morning.
Good morning, and thank you. Okay. The Board of Supervisors may, by motion, recess into executive session to receive legal advice from the board's attorney on any item contained in this agenda pursuant to Arizona Revised Statutes 38-431.03, portions A, 3, and 4. This morning we'll call for a motion to call for an executive session to be held for discussion. Pardon me? January 2nd.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and second for executive session on January 2nd. Any further discussion? There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. On to official business to come before the board. Mr. Esplin, any items?
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Committee or legislative reports. Start to my left, Supervisor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Ninth Circuit ruling was not a big deal, and that was in response to a lawsuit that we are part of. It simply confirms the validity of the 2012 Salazar withdrawal and does not change our strategy. Last week, we met with BLM and Department of Interior officials in Washington, D.C., putting into motion the plans that the Arizona-Utah Economic Coalition requested of Secretary Zinke in May. We are receiving positive feedback so far, and an outlook for removal is closer. Utah commissioners have been testifying in D.C. on our behalf and theirs, and are doing an excellent job. At the same time, working on PILT and SRS was not funded in 1617, which triggers the forest counties to get a larger share of our PILT. The reason we didn't see it in the last cycle in our payments was just because of an accounting glitch of the federal government. Now, Senator Corcoran has the PILT monies, and Senator Hatch, who's the chairman of finance, has the SRS monies. The only way that this is done is by Senator Hatch finding the funding from within the existing budget, which he has done. Now, SRS has to be attached to a bill as an amendment, and no one wants to do that for fear of owning the SRS. We have a couple of avenues available, but time is critical as it needs to be funded early enough to get it out so it can be figured into the payments this year. If we don't get this done, we will have a reduction of $800,000 in June. Now, I hear a lot of talk about SRS going away with a big share of our PILT. SRS is not and has not been popular for a long time, and every year it has struggled to get the support we need to keep it funded. While it probably will go away, we are working to get a forest management bill which will replace it, and the support for that is growing, and is all about getting and keeping the information in front of the Senate. We had a Quad State meeting. We went over our regional project. One of them we're looking at is a Mojave educational grant. We are fighting fires and not managing them. The green agenda is driving a lot of policy and costing us money. A good example is the buffalo grass in the Sonoran Desert area. We'd like to see it burn for the health of the desert, the tortoise, and to prevent uncontrolled massive wildfires, but pushback from the green culture is stopping it. BLM in Utah is really opposed to any kind of preventive fires. We're around 9.5 million acres burned this year and billions in firefighting. And once again, the feds have gone over their firefighting budget. We need to change the mindset of going from firefighting to fire management. We did go over RS 2477 in our right-of-ways, and that's about it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Johnson. Supervisor Bishop?
Thank you, Chairman Watson. I'll report that you and I did attend the Western Caucus, joining Congressman Gosar and many other Western leaders, federal and state, and as well as county. So that's my report for
Okay, great.
this.
Supervisor Angus?
Nothing this morning.
Supervisor Wakamoto?
I attended the Mojave County Water Authority meeting, and they continue to support us in terms of not letting the water go from MVIDD. And on the same line, we had a town hall in Mojave Valley that was attended for information to the people in that area about the consequences of allowing water to go.
Thank you. And as for my report, I met with Congressman Gosar on Saturday morning. He was here to dedicate a monument for a veteran that had been overlooked as far as having a headstone. But in my conversation with Representative Gosar, as part of our meeting that we met in Las Vegas at the Western Congressional Caucus, he indicated that we're getting very close to ending what we call sue and settle. That's a situation where the federal government receives settlement for various and sundry problems, and that will go then to the federal general fund and not to public interest groups as it has been for the last 8 years. And that's the end of my report. County Administrator's report?
I have no report today, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. And approval of the November 6, 2017 regular minute.
Chairman Watson, I'll make that motion to approve the minutes from November 6, 2017.
We have a motion for approval
Second.
and a second. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. On to call of the public. Those wishing to address the board at the call of the public regarding matters not on the board agenda must fill out and submit to the clerk a call of the public request to speak form. These are located in the back of the room prior to the meeting. Action taken as a result of public comments will be limited to responding to criticism, referral to staff, or placing a matter on a future agenda. Comments are restricted to items not on the regular agenda, with the exception of the consent agenda, and must relate to matters within the jurisdiction of this board. This morning I have one person signed up to speak at the call of the public, and that is Ms. Hoagland Smith, Leanne Hoagland Smith.
Good morning. First, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. May 2018 be filled with incredible peace and abundance for this board as well as Mojave County. Second, an apology to Mr. Hendricks. You are correct. You did not get a raise. I misread all the information. I'll be much more diligent in the future, but I did want to set the record straight. Third, I think we need to look at how can we save money. And previously, you approved insurance for approximately $19,000 for the library, and included 12 cars, even though the FOIA requests I received had 13. Of those 12 cars, 3 were for administrators, which was about $8,000. The private industry doesn't get cars. Why do administrators have cars when you have other vehicles, vans, able to take them from different libraries, because we're a large county? This is one way we can save money. And I will repeat this again, if we watch our pennies, our dollars will grow. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Supervisor Johnson, do you have any items to remove?
Nothing this morning, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Supervisor Bishop, any items to remove?
I do not, thank you.
Supervisor Angus?
Nothing this morning.
Supervisor Wakamoto?
None.
We're batting 1,000. I have none. Okay, the following items listed under the consent agenda will be considered as a group and acted upon by one motion with no separate discussion of said items unless a board member so requests. In that event, the item will be removed from the consent agenda for separate discussion and action. So,
Chairman Watson, I move we approve consent agenda items 5 through 25.
we have a motion for the acceptance of 5 through 25.
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. On to public hearings, item number 26. I'll open the public hearing for the discussion, possible action. Recommend the approval of a bingo license application for VFW Post 6306, AMVETS at 12858 Oatman Highway, Topeka, Arizona, to be held Wednesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Anyone wishing to speak to item number 26? There being none, I'll close the public hearing for item 26.
Chairman Watson, I move we approve item 26.
We have a motion for approval.
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. On to item 27. I'll open the public hearing for the discussion, possible action. Recommend the approval of a bingo license application for VFW Post 6306 Auxiliary at 12858 Oatman Highway, Topeka, Arizona, to be held on Sundays, Mondays, Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Anyone wishing to speak to item number 27? There being none, I'll close the public hearing for item number 27 and accept a motion.
Motion to approve item 27.
We have a motion for approval.
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. On to item number 28. Discussion, possible action relating to the continuance or reschedule to the December board meetings. The board's motion directing staff to work with the Fort Mojave Valley Community Park Committee to come back to the board with an amendment to the April 6, 2015 Park Development Agreement. Proposed amendments necessary to extend, clarify, or effectuate the purposes of the agreement for the board's debate and consideration and approval. This has been continued from the board meeting on November 20th, 2017. Mr. Hendricks, would you like to, or Mr. Esplin?
Either one, Mr. Chairman. One of the reasons that we ask for a continuance on this item is to get the other parties involved because of the holiday season, and certain individuals were out of state. So with that, I would like, I believe our attorney, Mr. Esplin, can sum it up very well what he's drafted up for the board to consider.
Thank you. If you look in your backup, you'll see a proposed amendment, and it would be amending paragraph 3 of the agreement. Let's see the date of the April 6th park agreement. And essentially what it would do is it would take out that clause, or within 12 months of the execution of this agreement, whichever is first. That will allow the Mojave Community Park Committee an opportunity to finish up with their proposed changes, finish up their proposed improvements and anything they need to do, and then bring it back to us, at which point then we would enter into a lease agreement with them. I believe that when they're finished with their improvements, when they are finished with the things that they want to do, then we will be obligated in good faith to negotiate a lease with them. That doesn't necessarily mean that we have to accept exactly what they propose to us. It would be that we would enter into negotiations in good faith to try to work out an arrangement whereby we would take over the park at that time.
Thank you, Mr. Esplin. And I've reviewed the changes in the lease, and I, for one, am satisfied. We have one person signed up to speak to the item. Mehdi Arzami.
Good morning, Chairman, Watson, Supervisors. My name is Mehdi Arzami, 1896 Clear Lake Drive, Fort Mojave, Arizona. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you one more time. Merry Christmas to all of you and to all the staff that are working really hard for us out there. Just want to report to you, as of 8 days ago, we added another $2 million to the value of the park. We had a proposal from Moscow Electric for adding lights to the softball, baseball fields for $1.2 million. And we had, for the soccer football field, $800,000, which obviously we didn't have the budget. And with a budget of $90,000 from Legacy Foundation, we were able to complete the project with in-kind donation and contribution by the local people. So when I was telling you about the value of the park being $8 to $10 million, now I can proudly say that it is $10 to $12 million value as of now. And that is basically a launching pad for the park to go to the next level. And we're very proud of it as a park member, as a volunteer project manager. And I sincerely appreciate those of you who are supporting our community park. To be honest with you, we all thought that, the building a park is going to be difficult, but dealing with the politics of it is much more difficult, to deal with it. And again, we are very proud of that park. I don't know if you have any questions for me.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Armani?
I have a question. What did I miss? So who's in this new sort of agreement, who's taking care of the maintenance?
The maintenance of the park is the same. It's going to be school district is continue to do that. And as I said, we are one community together. It is not, like, we have one, we're all together on that. And so giving an example, not long ago, we needed to oversee the park. The school district or River Valley High School, they paid $7,500 for that phase of it. The maintenance people that they have is always over for the tournaments and taking care of it. But there are other things that we are keep adding to the park to enhance it, which is not a part of it. So as I said, the community is continuing to work on it. We do have a plan with the understanding that we have from this board, what we have to do, the steps that we have to be taking. Well, as of this morning, 7:30 this morning, we had a meeting with the park committee, and we do have a model for the future of the park for 2018. And it's a very practical, model that we are going to go forward with it, with the help of the school district, and also with the expansion of other projects that we have improving. I'll give you an example. Tri-State Wi-Fi, as of last week, committed to go ahead and provide us free Wi-Fi to the park, and also about $10,000 contribution on an electronic device that we would be able to turn the lights on and off with our cell phones, with our smartphone. So we are continuing the project, the way that the best of ability that we have as a community.
Okay, so you're here. How long does this new agreement go for?
I believe I'll let that.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Angus, I believe it states until, the intent is until all improvements are substantially complete. And the reason that we're doing that is if the park was under the control of Mojave County and we were doing the actual work, there's certain procurement statutes that
I understand
would, yes.
I have a question for Mr. Esplin and Mr. Hendricks. The agreement that we have is an agreement that has been voted on, and all we're doing is extending the time frame. Is it the same basic agreement that was voted on and passed except for the time frame?
We're keeping the same agreement in place. We're amending paragraph 3, and paragraph 3 addresses the time frame. The time frame previously said that it had to be done within 12 months or sooner, and we've already expired that, and so we've removed that provision.
So that's the only change in the agreement?
Yeah, all of the terms and conditions of the agreement shall remain the same.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just to clarify with what Supervisor Wakamoto brought up, I think, Mr. Esplin, you're reading more into this contract. I agree that it's just for the extension of the time, but you're making it sound like we voted to accept this park, and to this date, I don't believe in a vote to accept the park has ever been taken.
No, I agree with you. I agree that that this board has not voted to accept the park. I agree with that position. And also, we do not have a lease with the committee. We don't have a lease with any other person. But what I'm saying is I believe it does say that, you know, the terms of this says, upon completion of proposed improvements, MVP agrees to lease the subject property in Mojave County. So when they come back to us and say, we've completed the proposed improvements, we're obligated to at least talk with them, to work with them, to see if we can reach that agreement. At that time, then they will present a lease to us, and then we would vote on it to determine whether that would be acceptable to the county or not. We would not be obligated to accept anything that is said. It'd be like any other person where we'd say, okay, they've presented it to us, and we're going to decide whether that's something we want to accept, and we need to do that in good faith. We can't just say, no, this can't be just a sham, can't be something that we're just doing this, going through the steps. No, we need to say, okay, in good faith, we're going to try, but if we can't reach one, then we don't, but we ought at least try to. And this is all saying that it's because it clearly contemplates that the parties are going to try to work out a lease at some point at the end. But in terms of answering your immediate question, Supervisor Johnson, no, we have never accepted a lease. We have never accepted the park. That is correct.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Esplin.
Thank you. Supervisor Johnson? Supervisor Bishop?
I have no questions.
Okay.
No.
All right. Chair would entertain a motion then to accept the amendments concerning paragraph 3 for the park development agreement.
I make a motion that we accept the amended agreement.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 29.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Armani. Sitting as the Board of Directors of the Golden Valley County Improvement District Number 1 for the discussion, possible action for the adoption of the GVID Resolution 2017-01, ratifying the board's previous decisions to levy and collect taxes of the Phase 5 improvement project assessed upon the real and personal property within the identified zones, and authorizes the Mojave County Treasurer to continue to levy and collect the district's Phase 5 improvement project taxes and assessments, including collecting delinquent taxes and the sale of property for non-payment of taxes via tax lien sales in February of each year until the further resolution pursuant to ARS 48-946C, in accordance with the statutes providing for the levy and collection of general county taxes. I have no one signed up for item number 29. We have a motion
Second.
and a second for the approval. Any further discussion? There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item number 30. Discussion, possible action, approve the modified memorandum of understanding between Kane County, Mojave County, Kanab City, Town of Fredonia regarding the cooperation and collaboration on matters pertaining to the economic and natural resource development in the region of interest, and direct the chairman of the board to sign the modified memorandum.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, this was just attorneys adding attorney words to the contract that we already signed. Mr. Esplin reviewed it and gave his comments there. So. Is that wrong thing for us to be the first ones to do it, I guess?
Very good.
Does this need a
Item for
motion to approve?
identification.
Motion to approve?
We have a motion
Second.
and a second for the approval. Any further discussion? There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item number 31, sitting as the Board of Directors of the Golden Valley Community Improvement District Number 1, discussion, possible action, authorized a refund of $1,173.75 to James and Gwendolyn Powell, who purchased an unassigned water service connection from the district at said cost in 2010, and rescind the water service connection assigned to parcel number 306-50013A on basis of the Powell's desire not to connect to the district's water system as a metered customer, and which requested action will render parcel number 306-50-13U as a dry lot as per its pre-2010 status. Chair would entertain a motion for approval.
Motion approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Item number 32, discussion, possible action, approve the 4-year lease agreement between Mojave County and Custom Ops BMX for the purpose of developing, operating, and maintaining public bicycle riding recreational facilities on approximately 2.07 acres in the county, leased from the Bureau of Land Management, land designated for the BMX recreation and competitive use at the southeast corner of Hancock and Highland Road in Bullhead City within Section 20.
Motion to discuss?
We have a motion for discussion. I'll second the motion.
I know Mr. Henry's here. I just have a couple of quick questions, if that's okay.
Morning, Mr. Henry.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Board members, how are you?
Good. Thank you for working with the county to coming up something that everyone's amenable to. I've had some inquiries, because it's in my district, as to the timeline. A lot of people thought when we talked about it, however many months ago, that it was going to start right away, but that was just to start the process of the contract. So can you just let us know what the timeline is to have it opened and running?
Well, the way the association's run right now is we're in what we call our transitions season, which is 2 weeks into the 2018 season. So we've had our final events ran in the last 2 weeks. So now most tracks are doing maintenance to get either changes made or to open up tracks that are closing down. In this case, this track has been sitting for a very long time. I thought around August 7th that I would be ready to go in, but I was told that I could not. It takes approximately between 2 to 4 weeks to do a track from scratch, depending on the conditions. This track has got weeds and bad dirt, and so I've been putting together a format of groups of people who are going to be involved to get this going immediately. So the first of the year, of course, I've taken on another project, but it's in line with what we're doing now. The first of the year, I will also be doing the Kingman facility,
Oh, okay.
which I did help bring around. So between Mondays there and Fridays in Bullhead, we'll be putting the two together to formulate a schedule that will run weekly. So hopefully within the mid to the end of January, we can have this project going. I assumed that it would be going already, but I was told again not to go.
When is the season for these?
The first of the year.
It's the first of the year, but
Yeah, and
because
it
we're
depends.
behind.
Yeah, and it depends on the tracks that are involved on when their schedules are. So, for instance, Kingman runs on Mondays, Bullhead was a Friday facility. So on Fridays, it was its night. And then Lake Havasu, Tuesdays and Thursdays.
By your experience, how long do you think it's going to take to get up and running in the condition it's in right now?
Well, if we use the dirt that's there right now and all of the things that are involved there, we can start like tomorrow. However, it is not my goal to run that facility the way it has been run in the past. Some of the equipment has been stolen, so because now that I'm taking over the Kingman facility, I have equipment there that I can use at Bullhead. So technically, we can run this program on the first of the year. Of course, it wouldn't be the first, it would be Friday of the first week. But we're not going to do that. We're going to take time to get in there. As soon as we're allowed to get in there, we can start the facelift, because we cannot do a full build right now. So a full build means they go in and they level the track and they build it back up from scratch. That's the ultimate plan. We have to go in and give it a facelift to get it ready immediately. So we have to use what's there.
So what's your goal?
To be running in the first of the month. Not the first of the month, the first month, which is January. We want to start with the rest of the season, with the rest of the tracks that are going to be up and running starting the first. So we're looking at mid to end of January.
Mid to end of January, that's what I'm looking for.
Yes.
Okay. And would you please, because it's around the block from my office, would you keep me posted into the county so we can promote it? And because a lot of people are very excited and looking forward to it.
To say the least.
Okay.
We have a lot of people that are really excited about this track coming back.
Yeah.
And
are willing to volunteer and get it going. And our community Bullhead City is a great community of volunteerism, and I'm sure you'll have a lot of help. And if you need help, just let us know and we'll find it for you.
Will do. Like I said, I've already set things forward, like electricians and plumbers that come in immediately as soon as I can walk onto that property.
Okay.
So those are the things that are going to take a long time. When I mean a long time, we're talking a couple of weeks to go in there and assess the damage. And then I have a dirt company they're more like a construction company. So they're going to come in with dirt and fill in the gaps and make it safe. We're going to make a change, but we can operate throughout the year and make our changes as we go. But of course, I won't be doing that. The USA BMX will make those changes.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. We look forward to it.
So do I. Thanks for the opportunity again.
Any other questions for Mr. Tunnell?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Not of this gentleman, Mr. Stewart. My questions are just on the insurance that we have. Obviously, you reviewed this, but you're thinking that $5 million for each occurrence is going to be enough? Because I know when we've had these in the past, I believe we had more money than that in other areas. Is this what's recommended?
Yes, this is what we recommended. We think it'll be sufficient. We worked with ASIP on this and quite extensively went into what we needed to have in here. They also have excess insurance on here besides the initial, the general commercial liability insurance. So I think we're covered pretty well. This is actually insurance that comes through USA BMX. And Turnell he acts as essentially I guess it's a certified track operator for BMX. So this is actually USA BMX and the American Bicycle Association that provides the insurance, the coverage itself.
Okay, that's the only thing, and just for the other board members, it's funny, but like you need more money for this than you do for the car racing, because you have all these kids, and if they smash into each other, even though they're just riding the bicycles, the liability is tremendous. So I want to make sure that the county's covered, that we don't fall back. But maybe that's something we can review from time to time in case of rates go up, because medical insurance and everything else.
Yes, we'll be keeping an eye on it. We'll be working closely with Turnell on it and being sure that we're in good shape. But this was a pretty extensive review process between the county, Attorney Esplin, and ASIP. We were all pretty much involved in this and looked at it very, very deeply and extensively, and we feel like we have a good coverage now.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor Johnson, for your concern and well-being of Mojave County.
Thank you. I do have one more reference to Mr. Johnson here. I think the biggest problem that we're going to have with insurance is the riders who jump the fence, who are not members, to climb over to get hurt on the tracks under these circumstances. The USA BMX has been running for a long time, and they have an extensive insurance program that does cover, as you say, kids smashing into each other. This is an art, so accidents do happen, kids do crash, but I think the one thing you can be for certain, USA BMX will even cover kids climbing the fence and riding that track and getting hurt, because they've had a lot of occurrences in the past. And again, Kingman, they're running through the fairgrounds, so the fairgrounds has the lease with Dustin Lewis. Well, I'll be taking over that position, so that insurance is the same.
Correct. And I understand that. As a matter of fact, Mojave County paid for about $18,000 worth of fencing just to preclude that.
To keep that from happening.
Keep
yes.
it from happening, yeah.
And that was one of the requirements for most of the tracks, is to have a fence that is hard to get over, but usually these kids will cut their way through and get on the track anyways, which is why we have the insurance.
Right. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. You guys enjoy your holidays.
Merry Christmas.
Chairman Watson, we approve item 32.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the approval of item 32. Any further discussion? There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Item number 33. Approve the Public Works Department organizational redesign within its road and traffic control divisions through the placement of position number 200316, Road Division Office Specialist at Range 11, Step 5, salary of $19.49 hourly. Placement of number 1014, Road Division Office Assistant Senior at Range 8, Step 5.5, salary of $17.26 hourly, and placement of position 200006, Traffic Control Division Office Specialist at Range 11, Step 5, salary of $19.49 hourly, and further approve eliminating authorized position number 200535, Traffic Control Office Assistant, until further notice and authorization by the board, whereas said action will achieve annual personnel salary expense savings to Fund 205, Highway User Revenue Fund, savings of $10,254 minimum yearly. Any questions for Mr. Latowski?
Motion approved.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second for approval. Any further discussion? There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 34. Approve and authorize the chairman of the board to sign a commitment letter to the Big Sandy Natural Resource Conservation District, otherwise known as the NRCD, for their request of a technical assistant grant match from Mojave County consistent of an in-kind contribution of $6,000 worth of project assistance, including geospatial mapping, engineering expertise, planning assistance, and technical assistance over a one-year performance period. This contribution, along with NRCD's own in-kind and cash contributions, will complete a 20% match required for the NRCD to obtain a $70,000 technical assistance grant from the National Association of Conservation Districts. That will be used for the watershed conservation and aquifer research planning within Mojave County. I bring this item to you, and I can answer any further questions if need be.
Chairman Watson, motion to approve.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second for approval. And before we vote, I just want to thank everyone involved in this recharge effort. And I just want to take this moment to thank you very much. It's an opportunity for Mojave County to really maximize our efforts in the recharge of the aquifers. And it's extremely important that we take measures now and in the future. So with that, there being no further questions, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried unanimously. Item number 35, discussion, possible action, authorize the chairman of the board to sign and issue a letter to the Department of Interior in support of Secretary of Interior Order 3349, which intends to promote renewed extraction and development of energy resources on public lands, and instructs the Department of Interior to review its mitigation policies regarding enforcement of the Endangered Species Act, reverting back to the prior less onerous policy. Supervisor Angus?
Chairman Watson, I want to thank everybody who worked on this and your very well-written letter for the public comments. I think this is a step in the right direction. For things that we've been working on for the last 4 or 5 years with Supervisor Johnson, all the places he goes, it all basically is all about this. So with that, I'm going to make a motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Any further discussion? There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried unanimously. Item number 36, discussion, possible action, approve the changing of the title of county administrator back to that of county manager. Supervisor Bishop?
Thank you, Chairman Watson. I bring this back to the board, and I've included in some of the backup material the history leading up to the title change from county manager to administrator and the elimination of the then existing county manager's ordinance. This was back in 2013 when the new board took office. These job titles are pretty much essentially interchangeable. However, the perception is the reality. Steve Young once said, if you are perceived to be something, you might as well be it, because that's the truth in people's minds. Mr. Hendricks has been an exceptional asset to this board for years and to this county, and has proven himself year after year. I think with the cities all having city managers and the majority of our counties throughout Arizona having county managers, I believe that perception is reality. And I believe Mojave County can be represented better by the title of county manager based on perception. While I appreciate the circumstances that prompted the change to county administrator, I believe that it's time to restore the position of county manager with no change in the contract, salary, or duties as currently assigned. So I would hope that the board would support me in the change of this title. I just think that it's important for our county administrator to be able to deal with other county managers and federal officials and have the respectful title of county manager, even if it doesn't change his duties. Thank you.
Chairman Watson?
Supervisor Angus?
Okay, where to start? We're not changing anything back, because when Mr. Hendricks was brought on, he was only brought on as an administrator. In Supervisor Bishop's backup material, she put in a little something from the meeting that we approved this at, which was February 4th, 2013, which was before Supervisor Bishop was on the board. It was Supervisor Steve Moss, myself, the late Joy Brotherton, Gary Watson, and Buster Johnson. And just as a little bit of a history, when we were running for office, we came in when we expanded from 3 to 5 to change the structure. And, you know, it's interesting you use the perception analogy, because it's sort of the different sides of the same coin. We had some issues with the previous county manager that there were some problems with. And so I wanted to put in some backup material about our reasoning why we changed that title from manager to administrator, but Supervisor Bishop did not allow me to do that. So I just want to read a couple of things that happened at that meeting that Supervisor Bishop was not at. We asked about the payment, would the salary be equitable? And the answer was yes. We asked if other counties do the same thing, that there is kind of an even split. Some do, some don't. We felt it important as the new board. We came in and we made a lot of changes. In retrospect, some of them were great, some of them not so great. And I'm the first one to say if a mistake was made, but I don't think a mistake was made in this case. Mr. Hyatt, when I saw this on the agenda, I asked Mr. Hendricks if this was his idea, if this was something he wanted, and he told me no. So it seems that it's really just for vanity. And I don't think that policy change would be something that should happen because of vanity. When Joy Brotherton and I walked on the 3rd floor the first day we were in office, we came to the corner office upstairs on the 3rd floor, and it still had everything from the last county manager. And there was a sign, a plaque, on the last county manager's door that said, "Poor planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on mine." And that was indicative of the problem with the strong county manager that we had before. And we wanted to change that perception. And I think we were successful in that. So if you want to change back to a county manager, I think that it should be talked about and that we should change the duties. And I think that the county manager should get the corner office with the big windows, the bathroom, and the shower. So if the time comes and you're agreeing to give up your office, Chairman Bishop, I might support that. In addition, this puts everyone in a bad position. You know, we work pretty well together. I've been working 5 years with Mike Hendricks, and I think he's done a very good job in a very difficult job. I mean, people don't understand that he's got to report to 5 of us, 5 completely different personalities, and kind of make us all happy, and that's impossible. And I think he does a pretty good job. But there are things that can do better. I believe a county manager is responsible to present a balanced budget to the board during budget season, and that did not happen. I believe that a really good county manager wouldn't allow a 10-hour meeting to go on during the budget. These things would have been worked out before. So if you want to go and talk about it and changing responsibilities and not just and do it substance and not just style, I will consider it. But until then, I think it's an insult and a slap in the face to the work that we have done in the last 5 years, and I include Supervisor Brotherton in that. So I will be voting no on that.
Thank you, Supervisor Angus. Anyone else wishing to speak to the item? I have a little bit of input I'd like to put with this. I believe Mr. Hendricks has done an outstanding job for the last 5 years. It's a very trying job. It's one that's 24 hours, 7 days a week. You can't really get away from it, even when you're on vacation. You have to be available. I'm not giving up a corner office, so I don't have a big problem with that, but I am in favor of changing back to the county manager with no changes to the current responsibilities. So, but I don't have a corner office to give up. Chair would entertain a motion.
Chairman Watson, I do have a corner office to give up, and if that's what it takes to change the title back to county manager, and as long as staff will move the hangings and the large heavy mirror that I have in there, I wouldn't have a problem at all with that. And just to set the record straight, County Administrator Hendricks did not ask for me to put this on the agenda. What prompted it was someone from the audience that spoke publicly in one of our recent last meetings and kind of ridiculed the title of County Administrator, and that's what brought this to the forefront. And I don't want to see our leadership ridiculed unnecessarily, and so I put this on the agenda, and I do support it. And Mike, if this passes and you want that corner office, certainly welcome.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Hendricks.
if I had any more, and thank you, Board, and I say this with all sincerity, that I have the greatest amount of respect for each and every one of you, and it is a pleasure, my extreme pleasure and honor to work for you all, and I enjoy your professionalism, your concern and deep respect for this county, and I couldn't ask for a better position or a better group of people to work with, and sincerely appreciated. But with that said, my office is about full, and it would take a miracle to move me down to the corner office. Even though I appreciate the sentiment, I love my office. I love where I work. I think we've made great accommodations for all the supervisors up in the third floor for anybody who wants to utilize it. And I've got my staff very well organized and functional in relation to that suite. And I believe that it would be a tremendous disruption if we tried to change anything. However, the sentiment is greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. But I would decline that.
Chairman Watson, I just want
Supervisor Angus?
to clarify, when the member of the audience got up and talked about his suggestion of the way the county could work better, he wasn't just saying it should be changed to county manager. He was talking about the position itself, and that would be a policy change that would be up to the board. Right now, and it says right in the information you put up, the job title and functions of the job are essentially interchangeable. However, county managers typically have broader authorization and opens up, I believe, a door. Even though we say it doesn't, it does. And it changes, I think, the intent of Supervisor Brotherton, myself, and actually the entire board voted unanimously on changing it to county administrator. So again, I think it's vanity. I understand why you want to do it. I think it's nice, but I think in the long run, it sends a bad message that if you're going to do it, let's just change the whole job description. Just changing a title. I mean, I would rather be called county commissioner. I think that sounds better. I think it gives us more supervisor. It's just a supervisor. But you know what? It is what it is, and that's what we go under, and that's what I accepted when I took the job, like Mr. Hendricks accepted when he took his job.
Thank you, Supervisor Angus. Supervisor Wakamoto.
Yes, okay. What we're voting on is not it's going to be the same position, it's going to be the same duties, it's going to be the same way of doing business. It's just a name change. Is that what it is? Just a name change?
Yes.
My understanding.
Okay, so ultimately, all decisions end up with the board. We're still running things exactly the way it was before. I just needed a clarification for myself.
Okay.
Chairman Watson, I'll make a motion that we approve this agenda item and change the county administrator's name to county manager
Okay, we have a motion.
with no change in job duties or,
Name change only and no change in job performance.
yes.
Oh, we have a motion and a second. Just one item for correction. I believe the 10-hour meeting and the balanced budget were under my responsibility more than that of his responsibility. And I'll do my best to make sure there's no more 10-hour meetings. Okay, Without any further discussion, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. On to our last item, item number 37. Sitting as Board of Directors of Mojave County Library District, discussion, possible action, approve the amendment number 2 to lease agreement number 14-SF-02, Mojave County Community Library located at 5744 Highway 95, Fort Mojave, Arizona, to exercise the option to renew the existing lease agreement number 14-SF-02 for the additional one-year period from April 1, 2018 through March 31st, 2019, with monthly lease payments of $3,158.64, and provide direction and input to staff related to the future relocation and lease purchase options. Questions for Ms. O'Brien?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Johnson? Ms. O'Brien?
Is there a change in the lease payment?
The lease payment changed somewhat based on previous improvements that had been done to the property have been completed. So that changed, and the actual lease amount increased somewhat. The lease payments decreased due to the tenant improvements, but the price per square foot did increase somewhat.
And that was a reasonable charge, you think?
Based on our investigation into the surrounding area and what leases are going for, it is still very much in line with everything down there.
Because it's a little confusing for the public when they read this. This looks like we're going down, but it's not going down, it's going up.
It's actually going up somewhat if you take out those tenant improvements.
That's the only question I had. Thank you.
Any further questions for Ms. O'Brien?
Not, just a comment.
Certainly. Supervisor Wakamoto?
It's in my district, and I had said that we'd be willing to work with the library and procurement to do whatever we needed to make sure that we could save money. I think what they have decided to do is to move forward in a logical manner without doing a knee-jerk reaction and looking for either IGAs or other places where we could move so we didn't have to move several times and do tenant improvements. And I appreciate all the work that went through, that you guys went through to do this, and we're still willing to work with you to see what we can do to make sure that the money that's spent is spent wisely and that we do it in a very logical manner. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman Watson?
Supervisor Bishop?
I just want to put my thoughts out there. The remodel fees will have been completed at the end of this lease. So our reward for that is that the monthly lease agreement goes up by several $100s, from 50 cents a square foot to 66 cents a square foot. And that's still a really good deal, except this building is huge. This is not a city library down there, it's a community library, which it's my understanding in reading the material for the library that community libraries are routinely around 1,000 square foot or a little more, 1,600, but no more than 2,000 square foot. So this one is, how big is it, 4,000 square foot?
4,000 square feet, I believe.
And it's big. You go in there and half of it is just an empty part of the building, and only half of it's being utilized. So my thought is, square footage-wise, it's a good deal, but it's wasted space. And I think if we're going to pay $3,158.64 a month with this new lease, why don't we purchase an appropriate building and pay these lease payments to ourselves? I would like to see this board discuss maybe renewing the lease for maybe a 6-month period while we explore purchase of a building that we can call our own, and then we're not paying money for a lease where every year the square footage price could go up and up depending on the economy at the time, so.
And just for everybody's information, by signing the new lease, you still have the 90-day termination clause throughout the lease. So just by signing the lease, you're not committing for the whole year. You still have the 90-day option throughout that lease.
Supervisor Angus?
Chairman Watson, just for a little history to the people who are watching, I want to explain how we ended up in that building. In 2014, the superintendent of the Colorado Unified School District, Riley Fry, approached myself and Supervisor Moss, and he had this big idea to have a online academy school over at this building that he was going to lease. It was a big building, and he thought it would be a great idea to bring in the library to where the people were. And he showed us his big idea, and although it was going to cost more money, we made the decision that it made sense at the time to do that. Unfortunately, the school district broke their lease and they left that building and didn't tell us. And that is why we are left holding the bag with such a big building like this. And I want to get that on the record because it goes to the Mojave Valley Park. That's why when you hear me question the school district's commitment, I just have a sour taste in my mouth because of this. They had big plans. We were going to be partners. We were going to help each other out, just like the park, but they left. So that's why we have such a big building that we really don't need. That's the honest truth. We don't need such a big building in the community library. So I would be for anything that will save us money and get us out of this thing that never really happened.
I believe that's what procurement in the library system is doing. They're exploring all avenues, aren't you, to see what we can do to find, as Supervisor Bishop said, either purchase or a place where we can grow so we don't have to do tenant improvements every 2 years or 3 years or however it goes, so that we can save money and make good decisions. Is that not what you're doing?
And we've done the initial look, a review of the area as far as properties that are available for lease, any other county properties that could be available, and we've reached out to the elementary school district down there as far as any interest in the vacant school that they have with that. Could that possibly be an option for us? So we are looking at those type of options, but we'd also be looking to the board for direction if you actually want to pursue the lease or the purchase type option of actual property down there.
I believe it's my understanding that we've indicated to you that the direction is for relocation or lease or purchase. Okay. So you've got a broad mission statement here to pursue.
Okay.
Chair would entertain a motion for the approval, or
I make a motion.
37.
Chairman Watson, I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second for the approval.
Actually, my motion would be to approve the lease while staff looks into other options up to and including a purchase of a new building.
I will second that motion.
And
Thank you.
Just for discussion, Mr. Chairman, for discussion part,
Supervisor Johnson?
I know there's 2 members on this board who seem to think they want a new library in the Kingman area. If you're given the procurement a direction, we might want to meet as the library board at some time to figure out where this money's going to come from, because we don't have enough money to do both, I'm pretty sure.
Thank you for your concern, Supervisor Johnson. I appreciate that. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. And with that, ladies and gentlemen,
Motion to adjourn.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah. Meeting adjourned.